It's called the world's oldest profession, but it lures some very young women. In prostitution, the prime age is between 14 and 16. But how do young women get involved in prostitution? And more importantly, how do they escape? Anna Cuevas has the story of one young woman who got involved when her boyfriend became her pimp.
It says March 10th instead of April.
Standing in the middle of her Orange County kitchen, 37-year-old Wendy Barnes is working to put her past behind her. You see, Wendy used to be a prostitute.
I'm putting one foot in front of the other, but I'm stumbling along and I'm trying my hardest not to trip over my own feet.
It started in Seattle when she was only 15. She ran away from home and moved in with her 17-year-old boyfriend, Greg.
It didn't start this, pimp-hoe relationship. And it very rarely does, I don't think, for anybody. I don't know a woman out there that ever entered a relationship going, ooh, there's a pimp, let me go be with him.
At 17, she gave birth to their first child. Broken with a baby, Greg told her they could make some easy cash if she went on a special date he'd arranged.
He says a Chinese man is going to stop and pick you up. He's going to offer you either $25 or $30 to have sex with you. You have sex with him right there in the car, and have him drop you off where I'll meet you.
And she did, getting paid $25 to have sex in the bushes.
I knew at that point I was worthless. I knew no matter how hard I ever tried, I wouldn't be human.
The money didn't last long, and Wendy had to do it all over again.
So a week later, we're in the same situation. But at this point, it was easier for him to tell me this is what you need to do. And, well, I need to do a couple more dates because, he needs his car fixed. And, well, if I love him, I would do this for him. And I did.
When did you realize that you were a prostitute?
I don't think I ever realized I was a prostitute as much as I realized I was worthless. I never thought of him as a pimp. He's just doing this to get by. He's doing this so that we could have money, so that we can have a good life someday.
By then, drugs were in the picture, and it wasn't just Wendy. She says eventually they had 8 to 10 girls living with them, some as young as 13, all working as prostitutes.
How much money do you think was coming in?
Different times, different amounts. We would go out and make as much as we could. The more we made, the more of a chance that Greg would treat us nicely.
It's a cycle that continued for 15 years.
But the business wasn't just limited to Seattle. According to Wendy, when things got slow, she and the girls would get into a car and drive to Southern California to try and make some money. Once here, they would not only take to the streets to perform their tricks, but they would also work motels and even apartment complexes.
We would make runs down here to Orange County, to Harbor Boulevard. Stay for anywhere from 3 weeks to 3 months. Work as much as we could, make as much money as we could, and then go back up to Seattle.
Did you ever think about leaving?
Oh, yeah.
Once she actually did, moving into a domestic violence center. But with no skills and no emotional support, it only took 6 months before she went back to the only life she knew.
You don't survive. You're so screwed up in the head afterwards, you can't live in regular society. And so you go back there because you can disassociate. You can just turn everything off and you don't have to deal with reality.
Getting out of that life isn't easy, according to author Ann Bissell. A former prostitute herself, she's the author of the book Memoirs of a Sex Industry Survivor.
It's a guilt, it's a shame, it's a feeling of being marked. Beyond all the glamour and the glitter, there's the reality of, what you've done. Even if you were forced into it, there's often a lot of issues around it.
She says Hollywood has played a big role in glamorizing prostitution, especially in the movie Pretty Woman starring Julia Roberts.
Hey, Sugar, you looking for a date?
No, I want to find Beverly Hills. Can you give me directions?
Sure. For $5.
It's not Pretty Woman, and that movie alone has caused us so much harm. That movie alone, I can't tell you how many people have probably been trafficked, have gotten into prostitution. Why did she do that movie?
Bissell has been out of prostitution since 1987. 10 years ago, she founded Sex Industry Survivors Anonymous, a 12-step program to help other prostitutes, like 30-year-old Heather, get out.
They wanted to know how long you've been out of the lifestyle. 2 years.
2 years. Okay, good.
Yeah.
Heather worked the streets of Hollywood for almost 15 years.
This guy said he needed to have sex, and I was broke, so I said, okay, I'll do it. I mean, so I ended up having sex with this guy for really less money, but I can't say the price, it's too embarrassing.
How much was it?
$20.
Is there ever the temptation, or do you ever have thoughts about going back, or are you afraid that you might slip and go back?
Oh yeah, every day. Because, I mean, people still try to pick me up. And I'm like, no, I don't do that. Even my old regulars, they're like, Heather, come here. I'm like, no, leave me alone. I don't do that bullshit no more. I don't like it. It's like, I do that, I end up going back to jail, and I don't like jail.
According to Paula Petrata, director of the Commission for the Status of Women, between 8,000 to 9,000 women are arrested every year in Los Angeles for prostitution.
The focus is generally on women and the acts that they commit, and not necessarily looking for people who, in fact, pay for prostitutes and what their responsibility and what their role is in this crime.
In Wendy's case, going to jail is what finally brought an end to her lifestyle. She was charged with compelling prostitution, basically looking the other way while minors were being exploited.
The first couple of months I was in a total daze. I couldn't even figure out what I did wrong. I was like, well, they'll realize the truth. They'll know that Greg's the one that's doing this, and we just all followed his direction. But that doesn't matter. You know, I was 29 years old. I was a grown-up. I should have stood up for what was right, and I didn't.
Once she got out of prison, Wendy found Bissell's group online and began the slow road to recovery.
I hear so many times, wow, thank God you were there. There's nobody else out there doing this.
Wendy's pimp, Greg, gets out of prison next year.
I know that on August 5th, 2007, I have to start running. I want to move to another country, I really do, but I don't have the finances for it. You know, I don't know what to expect from him.
For now, she's living with her mother and younger sister. And even though she's working 2 jobs, she knows just how fragile her life is right now.
I don't fit into that life anymore, but yet I don't fit into this life either, and I don't know where I belong.
I'm Ana Cuevas for Life and Times.